Matt Bernier taking a look at the Saturday DRFBets race of the day for June the 29th. Race number 10 up at Woodbine. It is the first jewel in the Canadian Triple Crown. It is the $1 million Queen's Plate for 3-year-olds. Before we dive into the field, head on over to bets.drf.com. You know the drill by now. It's where you need to go to find all the latest and greatest as far as new sign-up offers are concerned, as well as existing bonus offers are concerned. Bets.drf.com is the address. Let's take a look at the field of 3-year-olds going the 10 furlong distance of the Queen's Plate. You can head on over to the Race of the Day page on drf.com. Download free formulator past performances. As I go through this field in post position order, we will start with the lone filly taking on the boys. The number 1 Desert Ride goes out for Neil Howard. Most recently, a game winner of the Woodbine Oaks, rallied from well off the pace at 1 1/8 miles. 8-1 that day. You're probably going to get something pretty darn close to that here this time around. I thought it was a really nice effort. It feels like added ground is only going to be to her benefit. Whereas I don't know that that's totally the case with some of these other boys. 8-1 I think is a fair price on Desert Ride. The number 2, Moon Swings, goes out for Mike DiPaolo. Tried to plate trial most recently, beaten by a little more than 2 lengths by a number of common horses, exiting that race, running into this spot here. From a number standpoint, needs to improve. Perhaps the blinkers going on is going to be the thing that really wakes Moon Swings up. The interesting thing for me from a tactical standpoint, where is Moon Swings going to be positioned on the racetrack? Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. You can see they have the number 5, One Bad Boy, out there. And the fact that the 2, Moon Swings, is listed in 4th makes me think this isn't going to be an overly swift pace early on. One Bad Boy, we know what his game is going to be speed, and we'll get to him momentarily. But for Moon Swings to be that close, I suppose you can go back to some of his 2-year-old races where he was a length or 2 off of it. But what he's shown so far this year, I'd be surprised if he was that close. Maybe the blinkers on will get him into the run earlier. The 3, Kraken Wagon. Hate to say it, on paper looks a little bit overmatched. He's 50-1 on the morning line. This is a horse that's paired up Beyer tops of 66. The problem is, in 7 lifetime starts, the Beyers basically are living in that low to mid 60 range. I'd be surprised if he were to win. The 4, Pay for Peace, was the winner at 19-1 of the plate trial most recently, 9 furlongs. You would think the added ground here isn't going to be an issue for this horse. Look, I think he is an improving type. I don't know that I would want him at a short number. The good news is he's 15-1 on the morning line, and I think he makes a little bit of sense in here. Again, if you're not sold on the shorter prices, the AV's Flatter, the Skywire, those types of the world, maybe Pay for Peace, is one that you want to give a look to here for Rachel Halden. Again, trending the right direction here, 4th start off the layoff. One Bad Boy made mention he is likely to be the pace setter here for Richard Baltus. Highest last out Beyer in the field with an 89 Beyer speed figure. Flavian Pratt comes in to take the ride. The blinkers come off. Interesting move going into arguably the biggest race of his career. He pressured the pace throughout in that Alcatraz Stakes up at Golden Gate most recently, put away the other speed, stayed on nicely, just got run down by Visitant, who I think is a nice horse. He came back and earned a 91 Beyer on dirt in his next start. Kingley, the 3rd place finisher, he came back and earned an 87 on dirt in his next start. So the form is there for One Bad Boy. We'll find out about the distance. I'm not totally sold on 1.25 miles for this one. The 6 horse, Lucas and Laurie, another one that, just strictly speaking from a number standpoint, looks to be on the light side, going to be doing the running from the back of the pack. Would really appreciate just a complete and pace meltdown. 50-1 on the morning line. I think that's a fair number. The 7 is Federal Law from Mark Casse. This is a horse that set the pace in the plate trial, and according to the Timeform US Pace Projector, the Timeform US Pace ratings, in that plate trial, all those internal fractions were color-coded red. This horse was opened up by 3 lengths and still finished gamely, only loose by less than 2 lengths. It's a scenario where he showed that he can sit off the pace like he did 2 starts back in that Queenston. I know it was at a shorter distance, but he gives off the indication to me that you let some of these other speeds go, you can sit just off. Or if the pace projector is accurate and the 5 horse One Bad Boy goes, Federal Law sits just off of his flank, he might get first run on the deep closers. He is very intriguing in here. Jamie Spencer comes in to take them out here. Federal Law, 15-1 on the morning line. I don't think you're going to get 15. He's interesting, though, in this spot. The 7, the 8, he's a Macho Man. Goes out for Josie Carroll. We got a positive formulator effect for Josie Carroll. Past 5 years, winner last out, second after the layoff, 10 for 31, 18 in the money with a 278 ROI. I suppose it depends on how you want to look at that most recent run. I thought it was a fine effort from He's a Macho Man. First start since the end of January. That was down at Gulfstream Park. That was on dirt. This horse is a perfect 2 for 2 on synthetic. Has yet to see Lasix. The pedigree suggests that distance is only going to be his friend. But then you look and see the form of that race most recently is a little bit kind of hit or miss. Runner-up came back under the 53 buyer. You can make the case that the runner-up, who's also running here in the Queen's Plate on Saturday afternoon, was actually better in that most recent run had he been able to extricate himself and get on the clear earlier. Third place finisher, 72 in his next start on turf. Fourth place finisher was the next out winner with a 76 on turf. So the form, again, a little bit hit or miss, could go either way. He's a Macho Man is the kind of horse to me that I want to be using him at a big price underneath because I think he's got a puncher's chance in here even to win this entire thing. I'm not picking him, but I'll be using him underneath. The number 9 horse, Suited Connected. Going to be adding Lasix for the first time. Another one from a numbers standpoint on the slow side. You would have to think that maybe the added ground is going to be to his benefit, but from a numbers standpoint, he's just difficult to make. Maybe the Lasix will make him jump up as well, but he's not for me at 50 to 1. The 10, Skywire, I think is the horse that most people will gravitate toward. Not the morning line favorite. He is the second choice. Goes out, another one from Mark Cassie. I thought it was a solid effort most recently in the Grade 3 Marine. There was very little pace signed on. He was wide and trailing. Came with his bid. The fourth place finisher. Next out winner with an 83 buyer. It feels like there's a scenario where this horse is ready to take a step forward here. He can be relatively close to the pace as he was in that Wando 2 starts back. And really the only bad race he's run to date was that Jeff Ruby Stakes 3 back. And that was at Turfway Park. So you don't really have to worry about that. I think he checks a lot of boxes. He makes plenty of sense in here. Skywire is one you need to respect here at 4 to 1. Tone Broke, the 11. Luis Contreras takes him out for Steve Asmussen. This is going to be the first time that this horse tries synthetic. So that is an unknown in here. He is an Ontario bred. Obviously, this race is restricted to Canadian breds. It is an instance, though, where I look at this and say, you know, the form of that Sir Barton, sure, he was 6 to 1 that day, and you didn't know really what you were looking at. You figured Pletcher's horse was a big player that day, King for a Day. All he did was come back and beat Maximum Security in his next start with a 102 buyer. The last place finisher coming out of the Sir Barton, he was the next out winner with a 90 buyer. So the form of that race is holding up quite well. And if Tone Broke, pretty simple. If he can handle the synth, you have to look at him and say he's a legitimate threat. They thought enough to send him over to Dubai and potentially get him ready for a run in the UAE Derby. Ultimately, that did not happen. But this is an intriguing enough horse because he had some decent form as a 2-year-old. If he takes that synthetic, he's an interesting player in here. The 12, Jammin' Still, is the horse I spoke about in the plate trial where there was really no excuse, just didn't fire. But 2 starts back, you make the argument that had he been able to get out into the clear earlier, he defeats He's a Macho Man. Jammin' Still, I suppose that you look at it and say maybe the plate trial was just nothing more than an aberration. You can just draw a line through it. If you believe that, those runs 2 and 3 starts back, they give him a puncher's chance at 30 to 1. Alan Garcia takes them out this time around. At a big price, you could do worse than using him underneath. The 13, Rising Star, another one that goes out from Mike DiPaolo. Finished third, rallied nicely at the end of the plate trial most recently. I was 25 to 1 that day. He's a horse that still, from a numbers standpoint, I'm not totally convinced that he's quite this good. But I will say his 2 synthetic runs most recently since being claimed, they're actually pretty solid races. And if you think that there's going to be some pace for him to run at, maybe he can come and get a piece of this thing. And we wrap things up on the far outside with the morning line favorite, the number 14, Avies Flatter for Josie Carroll. I've been a big fan of this horse since he was a 2-year-old. I think he's very, very talented. He won a graded stakes race on turf at Keeneland earlier this year in the Grade 3 Transylvania. His most recent run in the American turf, I didn't love it. I thought he should have done better than he did. I know he made a bit of a move into the teeth of the pace, but he just sort of flattened out at the end. And look, the form of the American turf is holding up fine. We haven't had any next out winners yet, but you've had some mid to high 80 buyers come out of that run. So clearly the company lines are there. The concern for me more and more is I watch his run in the Transylvania. I watch his run in the American turf. I'm not totally convinced that added ground is going to be to his benefit. And he's going to be far outside. Be interesting to see what Javier Castellano chooses to do with this horse, breaking from the outside, how much ground you want to give up going into the first turn. I respect him. I respect the connections. I love the horse. Just not sold that 10 furlongs is his bag. I'm going to try to beat him. And who am I going to try to beat him with as we take a look at my pick? I'm going to go with the lone filly in here. I just think Desert Ride, she may appreciate the ground more than anyone else in here. I thought the Woodbine Oaks, considering the pace held up for the most part, and she was really the only one running from the back, I thought it was a good effort. I think she can take a step forward here. Second start off the bench. Desert Ride for me. The girl to upset the boys in this year's Queen's Plate. I'm going to go 1, 10, 14, and 7 in the Saturday DRFBets race of the day. As always, you know the drill. Head on over to bets.drf.com. Take a look at the latest and greatest as far as sign-up offers are concerned and offers for our existing members over on DRF Bets. Bets.drf.com is the address. The details are over there. Scheduled post time for the first jewel in the Canadian Triple Crown. The Queen's Plate at Woodbine on Saturday afternoon, 5:36 Eastern. Good luck.